So I want to share with you a little trick I use occasionally. It's something I call controlling the temperature of the water. Now, it's about perception. It's about how you control your own perception and how that can not physically change, but it can change the environment that you're in. So if you've ever jumped into the ocean, gone down the beach in the middle of the summer, and you jump into the water, the water feels cold, right? Like you jump in there, it feels instantly cold. You've come out of this warm air into this cold water. If you've done the same thing, right, like if you're a surfer and you like going down to the beach in winter because the waves are bigger, you jump into that same water and it feels warm, right? Like it protects you from the cold outside. The ocean temperature actually doesn't change that much over between winter and summer. Like it takes a lot of energy to change the temperature of water. So it's our perception that changes. So the water's the same, but when we jump in, one time a year it feels cold, the next time a year it feels warm. So how does that apply in a practical sense to day-to-day life? So to use an example, a good friend of mine was in the army and he was a soldier and was actually in combat and that sort of stuff. So, when I was talking to him about what he feared most, on level of 1 to 10, right up the top there, number one for him was public speaking, right? Like he just hated the idea of getting up in public, and I just thought that was madness because, the kind of work he was involved with, I can't think of anything worse, right? So here's this guy who's, willing to risk his life in combat that was scared to speak in public. So how do I get him to get past that? Well, this is what I do whenever I'm approaching a new situation or I'm going to speak in public in front of a group of people for the first time. And it's around controlling your perception. So for me, I just get very relaxed and I think to myself and I get into a meditative state and I convince myself that I've spoken to this group of people 1,000 times. I've spoken to this subject to them, 1,000 times that I'm seasoned with this group of people, with this building, with this stage, with the microphone, with the subject that I'm going to talk about. I'm well and truly experienced at doing this. And it changes your perception, right? Like you're not just the guy that's getting up there and doing it the first time. This is the 20th, 30th, 40th, 100th time you've done it, and it's a breeze. You know what you're doing. You know your subject matter back to front. That's fine, right? And it's about changing your perception of it, right? And that's one of the little tricks that I use, and I went through it with this guy. I had to do some stuff in front of some people, and look, it helps to change the temperature of that water that you're about to jump into. Because if you just, your brain is going to be giving you messages if you're going up there for the first time. This is an unusual situation, all the things that could go wrong. And if that's your perception, if you allow that to be your perception, then you're going to get up there and you're going to be nervous, right? And you're going to be nervous and you're not going to perform as well as you can. So, it doesn't take the place of practicing, right? Like you've got to practice, speaking. You've got to learn that art. You've got to learn the subject that you're talking about, the subject matter. You've got to go through your notes. You've got to memorise that, right? You've got to do that. But on the day and leading up to the day, as I've said before, your mind's just a computer. Like your brain's just a computer. It doesn't know the difference between whether you're actually holding an orange or you're pretending, you're imagining that you're holding an orange. If you close your eyes and you imagine holding an orange, they've done numerous tests on this. So you imagine you're holding an orange, your brain fires exactly the same as if you were really holding that orange. So if you convince yourself, if you convince your brain that, hey, I've done this 1,000 times before. This is no big deal. I know my subject matter. I'm prepared. I've talked in front of this group. I've talked to this audience. I've talked on this stage. You get in that meditative state. Pretend you've done it 1,000 times. Go through it in your mind. Reenact it. Then your brain believes that. Your brain goes, oh, this isn't a problem. We've done this heaps of times. In fact, we were doing it 5 minutes ago. We're just going to get up on the stage and we're going to talk and we know exactly what we're going to say. So it's going to change your perception. It's going to change how you feel emotionally about that event, and it's going to improve your performance. I can absolutely guarantee it.